Hey everybody, what's good? I'm in the kitchen today. I'm excited. I'm working on a super duper comfort food, meat and potatoes type of meal. And so today what I'm working on is a shepherd's pie. So that's the ultimate meat and potatoes, as you guys know. And so I wanted to just show you guys initially what you would need to start on the process of making it. I'm gonna start with the meat part of it, and then we'll go into the potatoes. But the potatoes, you know how to make mashed potatoes. That's all you're doing. And then you may want to top it with some cheese, or you may want to top it with some, extra fresh thyme and stuff like that, some parsley or whatever. But it's basically just mashed potatoes. So when it comes to the meat mixture, I used our beautiful handy. That's why it's still wet because I cleaned it already. You know, you got to clean as you go. That's another thing I'm all about because letting it pile up as you cooking all these different things is yeah. No, we know we're not doing that. All right. So to start our meat mixture, what we're going to start with is some celery, onion, and carrot. Now, again, I zip all of this in the food processor. I'm going to put some fresh thyme in there, not the stems, of course. I'm going to strip the leaves. And I'm going to also put some fresh roasted garlic that I just made this afternoon. And I made a video before about roasted garlic, but just to give you a quick aside, roasted garlic is just literally, you see I cut the top off. Now, many people might think that this part is the top. That's not. Like, it's the pointy part. That's the top. So you cut that off. You drizzle it with a little bit of olive oil, some EVOO. And then you just sprinkle a little salt on there, whatever kind of salt you have, and a little bit of black pepper. And then you just like roast them on maybe 375 for about 45 to 50 minutes until they start smelling amazing. And then when you look at them, you could tell that they're like going to be super sweet and soft when you pull them out. So I'm going to put all of this in the pot and start getting all this stuff good and lovely. And then once that's getting it together, I'm going to add our beef, a little Worcestershire, some of this tomato paste, and also a little bit of flour just to thicken up the sauce. Once all of that is incorporated and good, we're going to add some frozen corn and some frozen sweet peas. Of course, I have some fresh potatoes for the potato topping that I'm going to do. And with that, I'm one of those people, if y'all know me, you already know I'm a skin on person when it comes to potatoes. But for this particular recipe, I'm gonna peel the potatoes before I, put them in on the mash part. But I just want to let you know this is what we're gonna start on. And then I'll see you in a second once I start getting all this stuff in the pan and then showing you the next steps. All right, talk soon. All right, guys. So now we got our little gorgeousness in the skillet. Our onions, our celery, and carrots are in the skillet with some thyme. I'm gonna let this cook down a little bit more before I put the roasted garlic in there, because the roasted garlic is already cooked. But I do want it to marry into the sauce. But again, it's gonna cook for much longer because once this cooks down a little bit, then we're gonna add our ground beef to it and things like that. So now is a great time for me to start working on our potatoes. So when you start your mashed potatoes, you want to start them in cold water. I already have my pot ready for them. So the water's cold, of course. So as I cut them up individually, for this I'll probably use anywhere from 8 to 10 for the size pan I'm using. I'm using I think a 9 by 12 glass casserole pan. So I'm gonna use anywhere from 8 to 10. You know what? I'm gonna do 10 to 12 potatoes because I want the topping to be a little thick. So yeah, I'm gonna use a little bit more. So with these, I'm gonna get ready with the potatoes. I'm gonna start to peel those and individually put them in the water. And the reason I'm gonna do that right off the gate is because I don't want them to oxidize and start to turn dark. So the longer they're in air, fresh air, they start to get darker. So in order to avoid that issue, what we're going to do is start to put them in the water. So that's why I'm prepared with that. Another aside, as you can hear, you just hear a little bit of applause, right? You don't hear shh, you don't hear that it's frying crazy, because that's not what we want. We want these to cook down slowly, and we want them to get sweet, and light. We don't want them to have that char flavor on them. So I'm gonna let this go ahead and continue to cook, and then in the meanwhile, I'm gonna work on our potatoes, and then I'm gonna come back and show you what I do and the way that I do the beef when it comes to this. All right, talk soon. All right, guys. So here we are with our next step. I've softened the veggies, as you guys can see. They're really soft right now. And then I finally added that roasted garlic. Remember I told you it was kind of already cooked, so I didn't want to, put it in there. It didn't have to be a part of this whole process. But they're not as soft as I want them to be, so I moved them to the side, and then I put our pound of meat in there. So we've got a pound, maybe a pound and a quarter of ground beef in there. So we're going to let that start to brown. Again, they're cooking together but separate. People break it up and put it all in. I tend to, I don't know, for whatever reason I stopped doing it that way, but I still use the same pan for both of them. But that's where we are with that, and then I'll show you guys what's going on once this is browned and ready for the next step. All right, talk soon. Okay, guys, it's on and popping, as you can see. Now I've got it to the point where all the meat is browned. Again, we have our onions, our celery, the carrot in there already. And as you can see now, you're starting to see a lot of the oil come from the ground beef. And so what my next process is going to be is to drain off all of that excess oil. Then I will put in the sweet peas and the corn, and then season it all up. Again, working on the potatoes. I don't have all of them done yet, but as you can see, when you're doing like mashed potatoes, it's great to cut them up into chunks, because this speeds up the cooking time. If I was to just try to cook the whole potato, it would take much longer. So cut them up into like maybe inch pieces, and then just bring it up to a boil. Again, you got to start off cold, because if you start off hot, they're not going to turn out good. So you got to start out cold with them. And so while I prepare to go ahead and drain all this excess oil off of this, I'm gonna continue to cut up the onions for the potatoes for the mashed potato part of it, and then I will let you know where we are from there. All right, I'll talk to you guys in a sec. All right, guys, so here we are. We're moving on to the next step. So now we got our meat mixture together. As you can see, it's looking really good there. So as you could remember before, where we started was we had the beef, the celery, some carrots, and onions. And then we put some roasted garlic in there in that mixture and got all that together. So since then, what's in here now is 2.5 tablespoons of tomato paste. And then some frozen peas and frozen corn. So now all of that is in there, and so what we're doing is letting that simmer for about 30 minutes or so to get good and married. I also put about a teaspoon of cornstarch on there, just to get it thickened to the way you see it now. And remember, it's still going to cook in the oven for about, maybe 20 minutes or whatever, just till we get it all solidified. We got our potatoes over here. They're coming up to a boil. Remember, I told you guys, don't start them hot. You can't, they kind of just, they become mealy. I don't know if you understand how that texture, how can you explain it? They just don't have a good texture. That's all I can say. They taste like terrible. So you start from, cold water. Now you see they're finally coming up to the boil. Once they come up to the boil, I am going to season the water with some salt. Let them cook to their fork tender. Then I'm going to drain all that water off, taste them, and then start the whole process of making the mashed potatoes. But there we are with that. I will show you guys the next step in a second. All right. All right, you guys, here we are. We're moving right along with this dish. The lighting is a little different because my overhead, my microwave got hot, and so I had to unplug it because the exhaust, after a certain temperature, the sensor kicks in and you can't turn that off. So the only way to turn it off is to just actually just take it, unplug it. So that's what I had to do. But anyway, I wanted to show you guys where we are with this whole dish. And so that's why the lighting is a little bit weird. It's coming from my cell now. But anyway, if you remember, our meat mixture was the ground beef, and it was hit with the sauteed onions, the roasted garlic, the carrots, the celery, and then we hit it with the corn and the sweet peas, and then it's in some tomato sauce. I mean, not even sauce, tomato paste, some Worcestershire sauce, and what's the other thing? A little beef broth. Should kind of just thin it out for a while so that it could kind of like then come back to the situation where it reduced and gives you this. Our potatoes are done. And I'm about to hurry up and get these out of this hot water before they overcook. But as you can see, they're fork tender. And what that means is just basically they're to the point where I can mash them. They're fork tender. So they're ready to come out of that water. And so I'm about to hurry up. I just want to make this part of the video really quick. But on to the next. I'll talk to you in a sec. All right, everybody, here we go. This is our final product. This is our shepherd's pie. As you can see, I put a little, like I said, some cheddar cheese into the mashed potatoes. And so, like, you can see all of that goodness. You can see that little crust go there as you go into it. And then you can see all that meaty goodness underneath, that steam come out. So, this is something that's absolutely delicious. Like I said, stick to your ribs, meat and potato kind of dish. It's something that I absolutely love, and I hope you guys love this recipe. Let me know. More recipes to come, absolutely. But here we are. Here we are. All right, talk to you guys soon.